That both sides raised some fair and extremely legitimate concerns about their concerns about dogs and their dog behaviors, some of which is perceived as negative, concerns about dog owners, some of which their behaviors are seen as negative, and I think the concern about everybody being able to utilize the parks in a compatible manner is equally as valid a concern. I think we as a city government should be very concerned about any liability opened up in whatever future action we take, as well as even the basics, such as the rate of licensure, having our dogs licensed and appropriately monitored. I agree, I think, with the last speaker, Barbara Black, which is we're not being asked tonight to open up any of our parks at this point to off-leash times, to fencing or unfencing areas at this point, but we're being asked to consider formulating a group, and if that group decides that they'd like to focus in on a specific area, then work on that specific area, formulate a plan. And that plan may be it doesn't work, a dog park, fenced or unfenced, doesn't work in this area. After hearing hours of testimony and reading hundreds of emails, I'm going to weigh in on the side that we should have at least the wherewithal to go with the next step, which is actually activate a citizens group to explore a dog park in some aspect of or some area of our parks. With that exploration, I think the fenced, unfenced area really needs to be explored. So, Carol, here's a question for you. If I say I'm leaning in favor of one type of a dog park scenario than another, what does that preclude or not preclude me from doing in the future?
Nothing.
Perfect. Okay. I think after hearing all the testimony this evening, residents would be much more, their fears would be much more alleviated if there was a fenced area in our parks. That's a cost, that's a capital projects cost that I think we should talk about at a budget time if we decide we want to go down that path. But I'm certainly much more open to that idea than having dogs running off-leash in any park. But I'm still open to that after the citizens group does some exploring of their work.
One of the things that makes me happy to live in Cupertino is a lot of people said, well, are only this ethnic group either for or against dogs? And if you look at the people who spoke tonight, there's not one group that's for or against or whatever. I think that people are spread all over the map, and there's a spectrum of what people care about. Just for disclosure, I am a dog owner. I love dogs, and I have been bitten by a dog when I was a kid. And I know that my dog sometimes frightens some people, and it doesn't matter if your dog is 4 inches tall or 100 pounds. Some people are afraid of dogs, and so I'm aware of that. And though I love the dogs biting people, I think that there are statistics that were presented that say the off-lead dog parks were actually, according to staff, it had less dog bites than fenced-in dog parks, which I found really surprising. So I'm not sure I find the off-lead areas as problematic as long as we have areas to put them in. So, by the way, and I'm not encouraging putting them in the middle of the kids' play area. I'm just suggesting that we look for areas to do those. And I think there are some areas within our parks, and I think it's better if people do socialize and have that to the extent that that will work out. On the other hand, I think you get a, I don't know, Cupertino blue tag or whatever, and you need that tag to have your dog in an off-lead area in Cupertino. And that tag is, say, something like $40. And it requires you to have your dog licensed. So now your dog has been licensed, it's had a rabies shot. If your dog is not licensed and didn't have a rabies shot, you get no tag. Don't be letting your dog, whether it's a fenced-in park or not, in our town, keep them on a lead, and in fact go get them licensed, or her. Now, the carrot part of that is, if you're a Cupertino citizen, maybe you get $20 off. And then I'd like to see a program where we administer a simple test. If your dog, can, sit, stay, and then come on command, so you can show you have voice control over them, you give them another $20 off. So now it's free. So if you're a Cupertino citizen, your dog's licensed, you have control, you get in for free. If you're outside of Cupertino, you're gonna pay a bigger fee, and that helps us recover people and also disincentivizes other people to use our areas. I think there should be. I want the neighborhood group to kind of. I think it's good.
Okay,
I'm gonna give a lot of thought to it, so I'm gonna get my opinions out there. I understand that the fine thing we're not deciding on whether or not there's a fee and how that works today. I am in favor of getting the citizens group together. I do like the newer recommendation, because I think that one thing both sides agreed upon when I talked to them was they were nervous about a citizens group being responsible. And I think a citizens group that helps choose the parks and get together, and I think I heard people from both sides volunteer for that, is a good thing. But I don't think you should make them responsible for policing, because they don't, you're going to give them responsibility without the authority. I don't think that's a good idea. And so I think the city should be responsible for the actual policing activities and stuff like that. If you're a Cupertino citizen, maybe you get $20 off. And then I'd like to see a program where we administer a simple test. If your dog, can, sit, stay, and then come on command, so you can show you have voice control over them, you give them another $20 off. So now it's free. So if you're a Cupertino citizen, your dog's licensed, you have control, you get in for free. If you're outside of Cupertino, you're gonna pay a bigger fee, and that helps us recover people and also disincentivizes other people to use our areas. I think there should be favor of actually, if the group decides to do a trial period, I'd probably be in favor of more than one area, so that you don't attract everyone to the area and cause the problems some people worry about. So if they can identify a couple areas for a trial area, I think that would, if they want to do a trial area, I think that would be a better thing. I agree with the one person who said if they're talking about segregating, you can do it with either time, fences, or I think actually Mr. Klinger once told me you can do it with you can also do it with physical barriers. If you have an area where the dog is just buried, you don't need to put a fence if there's a way to keep them away. So I think all three of those things do segregate the dogs.
Real fast, high-level view. This is, a lot of people have said this about balance and fairness. And the problem with that, and I'm okay with, I think we're going to come to some good consensus here, but the problem with that is it's really hard to balance the joy of, your dog playing in a park versus the fear that somebody has. Those just aren't equal in many cases. So it's, even though you go, I've got these things that I'm trying to balance, potentially one outweighs the other. Therefore, I like fenced versus unfenced. I like the fence thing better. I'll just give my views.
Isn't that what we decided today?
No, we didn't decide anything.
About it, yeah.
We had comments on it, so we're just giving comments because we're not deciding on any of the details tonight. So I like the fence thing better. The problem with the fence thing is expense and loss of space, potential space. But I am open to the hours thing because what I've heard, I think there's at least the possibility that by giving people the opportunity to do it legally in certain hours, you will reduce the people that are doing it illegally all through the day. So I'd at least be open to trying that. So having said that, here's